And the British High Commissioner, Ian Walker, and the rest of his team, you know that they embarked on that great event, the Ghana Grand Tour, climax on Sunday. But while on the tour, Togbe Afede spoke to the president of the National House of Chiefs and the former chairman of the National Investment Bank on a variety of issues, including the banking sector crisis and the PDS saga. Well, we'll bring you that interaction.
Well, the Ghana Grand promised to show you the most beautiful places in Ghana. Tonight, we're in one such place, the palace of Togbe Afede XIV. He is, of course, the king of the Asogli state. He's played host to the British High Commissioner and the Australian High Commissioner as the Ghana Grand took a ride through Ho. We're going to spend a few minutes with him, pick his thoughts on a number of issues, including, of course, the Ghana Grand. Your Majesty, how nice to see you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. Tonight was very special. The British High Commissioner has been looking forward to this meeting with you for quite a while. Tell me what it means to you and your people to have the British High Commissioner pass through Ho on the Ghana Grand Tour.
Well, it's indeed a great honor and privilege to be part of this very important landmark event, the Ghana Grand. And we are very excited that Ho and therefore Asogli is part of His Excellency's program. To the extent that this program has development agenda of our country as a focus, to the extent that it's aimed at enhancing, development in our country and therefore bring happiness to the people, we should feel extremely honored to be able to play a role in this. And so I would say that, and of course, as you would have seen, the Togbe who were here, the Mama who were here, our regional minister, our MP and our MCE were all very excited. And it's indeed a great evening and one that I would want to have again and again. We did not only get the privilege of hosting the British High Commissioner, we also have with him the Australian High Commissioner. For us, it's important that we establish relationships, beyond the confines of government, so we can mobilize all the potential that's out there for the benefit of our people. So it's indeed a great honor that we had this privilege of hosting two very distinguished diplomats this evening.
In addition to raising some funds for the Burns unit at Kolebu, one of the main purposes of the Ghana Grand is to highlight the beauty of Ghana. And of course, the Volta region is home to so many of our landmark tourist attractions. For some reason, however, the sort of progress we see through tourism in countries like Kenya and South Africa continues to evade us here in Ghana. As a traditional leader of the people who are closest to some of our most beautiful attractions, why do you think that is? Well, what has prevented us from reaching those heights?
Well, as I said earlier, I very much like the tourism aspect of this project, because you talk about tourism in the country, you talk about Volta region. We have most of the nation's tourist attractions. Like you have had same concerns that we have not been able to reap the full potentials of our tourism. I think we have tried to promote, the sector probably in the wrong way. If we have to develop our tourism, if we have to bring in foreign visitors, we can only do that on the back of successful domestic tourism. Charity begins at home, so they say. So we need to encourage Ghanaians to start traveling across Ghana, because you don't expect Mr. K and Mrs. K to come from the US all by themselves and, for example, climb Adaku Mountain when there's nobody else there. So we need to encourage our own people to also travel, so we can build our international tourism on the back of successful domestic tourism. Ghanaians don't know their own country, and I think it's so easy to do that. I can imagine many families who over weekends would not know where to go. recall the successful Meet Me There event that was held many years ago at Mankloyo in the Somanya district. Virtually the whole of Ghana descended in that area, but since then there has never been anything organized like that before. So let's create opportunity for our own people to travel. Let's create our own domestic tourism agenda on which the foreigners can ride. So the foreigner gets on the appropriate site on the internet, and he can read what is happening from Bando to Hokwe, what is happening in Cape Coast to Kumasi, and etc. You know, we must start by encouraging our people to travel. The tourist board or development authority has offices across the country. What are they doing? Those in Ho should be able to mobilize Ho residents to travel to Kumasi. Kumasi should be able to mobilize, you know, so that at any one time, particularly by weekends, there is a movement crisscrossing, you know, across the country. People from Ashanti coming to Volta region going to Central going to, you know, we must do that. And we should use the offices of the tourism agencies to plan those activities. So at those in Hope, for example, we're planning, you know, excursions for whole residents outside of Hope. Those in Nigerian capitals will do the same. And then from all of this can emerge a whole national program. So the tourist coming to Ho knows that, when he spends the weekend at Ho, there's a chance that he can join a bus that will go to Blue Waterfalls. You know, we must do that. When we do that, then there is that flow of our own people across the country. That itself will help create revenue. That itself will help to spread the wealth of this country. Those from the cities will go out to rural areas and spend money and create jobs there. We're not tapping the potential of tourism in this country at all. But I said before we can do it successfully, the starting point should be domestic tourism. We shouldn't just go out there and try to convince Spaniards to come to Ghana, Americans to come to Ghana, when Ghanaians themselves are not traveling. Ghanaians have said, you don't expect a foreigner, man and wife or family, just by themselves to be climbing Araku Mountain when there's nobody else inside. They'll be afraid, they can't do it. You go to the likes of China, Chinese are traveling. Go to America, Americans are traveling. The foreigners join them. But we think sometimes that tourism means somebody from Canada, somebody from the UK, somebody from America. No. Tourism is just movement, you know, to enjoy whatever another part of a country or an area provides. It does not have to be international. Again, we cannot have more foreigners coming to Ghana and traveling than Ghanaians we have. So the core of tourism must be domestic tourism. That is a starting point. Otherwise, then we are not, you know, we're putting the cart, you know, before the horse.
Your Majesty, who do you think should take responsibility for carrying out this plan you've outlined? Should it be traditional leadership, regional leadership, national tourism ministry?
All of us have a role to play. All of us have a role to play. But the good news is that there's a central national body, okay, Tourism Development Authority, that is represented in every part of the country. So they can have those their offices lead. The civil society organizations will support, traditional authorities will support, individuals will support. But there must be that leadership that will come from an organization that has its presence across the country. The traditional leaders would have their role, okay? Individual citizens will have their role. The CSOs will have their role. But the important thing is there is one organization that is represented across the country that can coordinate these things, okay? And that organization must provide leadership so we can all chip in and get this done. Once again, they have the resources, and two, they have the presence. They must provide leadership. And then, you know, of course, that is why they are there anyway. So they must provide leadership, and we will lend support. Even the cultural part of it, chiefs can lead. We can build our own traditional museums that can also attract people. And of course, we can encourage our people to travel, and we can also travel. But in any case, leadership must come from, you know, the relevant tourist development body.
Majesty, in the few minutes we have left, I want to ask you about something that falls directly into your area of influence, and that's power. Of course, you're the director of Sunon Asogli. You also happen to be the head of the National House of Chiefs, who issued a statement earlier this week where you talked about how the failure of successive governments to fight corruption is the cause of so many of our current woes. In that you mentioned the PDS, the recent PDS scandal. Everybody is still talking about this, and you of course are also the chair of the Independent Power Producers, the Chamber of Independent Power Producers. I wonder how this recent scandal has struck you personally, and whether you have any insights into what has brought us to this point and the way out of it.
You know, I have a very, very strong development orientation. I'm extremely nationalistic. When I finished my master's education in America, that is after I earned my Yale MBA, I did not work for one day in America. You don't meet many people like that. I came home without having worked one day. So my success is inextricably linked to the success of this country. If I succeed, this country must succeed. And I return to Ghana promptly to be part of the process of developing this country. So everything that I do has a development orientation. And I'm passionate about it because that is what people desire. I've lamented over the past years about the fact that, like all of Africa, Ghana has more than its fair share of the world resources. Africa controls about 30% of all of the world's known mineral resources. We account for more than 12% of the world's land mass. We have a youth population. Yet what you see in Africa, what you see in Ghana, is in stark contrast with what you see elsewhere. And that worries me. Why should I go wallow in poverty in the midst of plenty? And this same story you see all across all the countries where the black man is in majority. From Haiti, in the Caribbean, to the Horn of Africa. It's a tragedy, you know. I'm very concerned that, like our founding father said, we should prove that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. But of course, we cannot say we proved it when we have retrogressed as a continent or as a country in Ghana relative to the rest of the world. We've always talked about the fact that Malaysia and Ghana had the same standard of development when we had our independence. But today, Malaysian GDP per capita is about 5 times that of Ghana. Ghanaians are finding it difficult to, satisfy their creature needs, health, food, shelter, and etc. Those really worry me, And that is why anything that undermines our development worry me, And there's one thing that is again, a pervasive part of our character across Africa, I believe. A lot of selfishness, okay? And again, it's very pervasive. It's not just among our political leaders. It's a very pervasive African disease. We like it just for ourselves individually. I'm a believer in cooperation. I'm a believer in collaboration. I'm a believer in sharing, resources and the benefits, that our working together can provide, So I am very concerned that, we have all the things that bother us, as far as I'm concerned, in our country. I believe that our small Ghana, having enjoyed peace over the past 3 decades, when the whole of the country was in turmoil, was well positioned to become a paradise, for the citizens. To be able to serve as an example to others, you know. But I don't think we've enjoyed enough of those peace dividends. And like all of Africa, we suffer because there is too much selfishness. And there's too much selfishness among our leaders. They ride on, you know, all the promises and get to power. And then they try to use power for their own benefits. For the benefit of those who are closest to them, cronies and what have you. That is not what our founding fathers had in mind. So as we celebrate our founding fathers, the question we ask ourselves is, have we lived up to their dreams? And the answer is no. That is what we have to emphasize. It shouldn't be just celebration. Should we stop taking celebration for our founding fathers? The best celebration, you know, is a resolution to work towards the realization of the ideals that inspire them. As I said, as the National of Chiefs said, this is not the Ghana that our founding fathers dreamt of. This is not the Ghana that our founding fathers dreamt of. And I'm saying that, like most of the other African countries, is the greed, the selfishness among our people. You know, when you look, for instance, at what's happening in our religious sector, okay, where we have thousands of churches in even one town. You see, it tells you how selfish we are, how ununited we are. Okay, so you wake up one day for a selfish reason, you're going to establish your own church. You know, so you see, there is a proliferation of churches. It shows how we are, the kind of mentality we are. You know, so you can see that the churches you have in Hope, for example, would number more than the churches that, you know, you can see in the whole country. The numbers are there. Okay, where cities like Lagos will have probably about 10,000 churches, probably 400 times more than churches you find in all of Switzerland. Why are we so divided? Is this, you see, what you see in the religious sector reflects our, you know, selfishness. You see what I'm saying? Always looking for self. That has been at the core of our failure to develop. As I said, it's a pervasive thing from our leadership. When our leaders are very selfish and greedy, then you can see the difficulties. I was surprised and shocked to read that the cost of corruption to Ghana annually is about $3 billion. I mean, that is crazy. You see, successive governments accusing each other. It's become so normal, you know. One party or government accusing others of the worst economic crimes against this country. So it's like a joke to listen to this time and again. I mean, we become like a scandal-ridden kind of country, and it's just so shameful, you know. Part of the reason is because we, the people, don't speak up. Okay, and the few who speak, particularly those who just always lend support, are the ones who are influenced to do that, the serial callers. They dominate the airwaves. Sometimes we don't know what the truth is anymore. It's all about party. And again, I said, many of our people are very selfish. The politicians are the leaders are very selfish. I'm not saying the chiefs are, you know, angels. We have our own problems. We're trying to deal with them. But we don't control national resources, you know. You see. So you see a lot of this selfishness is hurting the cause of our development. Why do we have so many uncompleted projects? Because one government starts it, and that one comes and they forget it. What kind of crime is that you want to commit against your own people? Resources of people have been invested in something partially done. You came in for political reasons you don't want to. You know, the NDC is guilty of it, MPP is guilty of it. We can't develop that way. One government starts a project, you come in, complete it. Why would you want to abandon it? Forgetting that the people's tax incomes have been sunk in those projects. So the landscape is dotted. Many uncompleted buildings. Just walk out of my house, you see the uncompleted road that the NDC started, that this government has abandoned, which has made travel from Ho to Accra extremely, you know, a painful experience. You know, I worry that Some of our places are worse off today than they were 20 years ago. Every country is moving forward. Then I decided to take a ride, around Zongo Junction, and I was shocked that not much has changed over the past, 30 years since I was living near that place. The same open gutters and choked gutters. I went to my secondary school where I finished my O-level. I finished 44 years ago, trust me. And I'm surprised that the road from the town to my school is still untarred. I mean, what kind of country is this? We must make progress. But we cannot make progress if there is too much selfishness, too much greed, which is why we see uncompleted projects everywhere, buildings, roads. I mean, look at gutters. They build gutters. They are uncompleted. The gutters are standing taller than, the land either side. You see a lot of those things. How can we treat ourselves like this? Sinking our money in wasteful and completed projects. It's not good. Governments will mark on big programs. They will advertise and promise to finish the program or the process of appointing or selecting a winner within 1 year. 2 years, 3 years is not done. Why is it not done? Because of that same selfishness, looking for people who fit a certain, description, people government can work with, to be not necessarily people who are more qualified to do their job. So they ran through all this, advertisement programs, asking for people to express interest, to get pre-qualified and then submit proposals, and the process never ending one. We've seen some of them. I mean, we're still looking for, the commencement of rail projects, export expansion here and there, the roads and all of that. How can these things just stall? Why are we looking for people who are close to us to be the ones to execute? So that if maybe the kind of people who, come in, don't feel that, then nothing gets done. Many projects don't get done. Many projects fail to be completed for this selfishness. Sometimes they feel that, people who start a project, maybe they have an interest and so will not do it. Meanwhile, you also leave government, leave uncompleted projects. The other person can say, you have interest. How can you treat the people of Ghana this way? You see what I'm saying? We need a lot of selflessness to move this country forward. Not everything must be politically inspired. Our political leaders love their parties more than the country. All they want is power, whatever it takes to get power. So wrong programs, all kinds of socially unproductive programs are pursued, or political programs. We see a lot of those, preponderance of these programs, none of which work, just cosmetic. They are not sustainable programs. I don't want to mention them, they are all well known. All of them politically inspired. That cannot help the cover development. Now, coming to PDS, we call it a national shame. It's a national disgrace. It's a major landmark program that involves one of our biggest donors, the United States, that has committed almost half a billion dollars. I mean, our desire should be to do it the best national standards. But long ago, there have been concerns about the way the program was being run. The reason why the likes of Enel, top company from Italy, withdrew. Many companies just withdrew because they did not see that things were being done well. So again, Ghanaians sometimes, the president said we should be more active. We should not be passive, observers. We should not be passive bystanders. But that's what we do. Okay? There have been a lot of rumors already before the scandal about the ownership of the PDS. The rumors are consistent with what you are hearing today. But why did we wait? Why do we just murmur in our houses, in our offices, grumble? Why are we not bold? We need to be courageous in addressing things that matter, for our country. Again, I'm saying, for many months, the rumors have been out there.
Your Majesty, is this the cronyism that you were referring to earlier when you talked about people using power to benefit themselves and those closest to them?
It's become the norm in our country. that people who leave power become rich. Is what I'm saying? And it's all known. All people who are in power, their brothers, their sisters, suddenly become business people. They were not doing business in the past. Suddenly they become businessmen. Those who are working abroad suddenly come home to become businessmen. Okay? It stifles innovation. It stifles creativity. Even I've been a victim. There have been times when I suggested, programs that, were ignored. And of course, I'm not really interested in working for government, except that many of the times, or most of the times, government has to approve. Government has to approve. So you go for the idea and, you don't get the cooperation that you need. You see, maybe one day then you hear somebody else doing it. You see, we should have a clear open door policy when it comes to development, when it comes to business, so that every potential, every ability can be tapped for the benefit of our country. It does not speak well when, as a citizen, I'm afraid to take my proposal out there for fear that somebody might hijack it, somebody might steal the idea, and I would, just undertake a goose chase or a wild goose chase. It is a fear of many who have ideas. Many Ghanaians have ideas, things they want to do. But when they have to face, government to be able to advance, their ideas, they are reluctant because past experience have not been very good. Is what I'm saying? Why do we do this to ourselves? Everywhere in the world, the black man suffers, humiliation, suffers disrespect. So as leaders, our objective, after we've been honored by people, should be to be the best that they can ever imagine to have, to be just the best. For heaven's sake, if out of millions of people, you alone have been chosen to a position, the people deserve your honor, they deserve your respect. You see what I'm saying? They deserve that you want to be the best they can have. Do them that honor. Return that favor to them. You see what I'm saying? But when you have a position and then it's about you personally, and again, it's become a very pervasive thing. That when you are in a position, people say, I must make money. Togbe Afede was chairman of NIB. He must have made money. That's not true. For me, it was service to country. And I don't think the president did me any favor by making me chairman. I was supposed to work. When President Mahama first appointed me chairman of NIB, he called me personally and said, Togbe, I want to go and do a certain job for me. Okay, Ronaldo came and I have to continue. But to the average Ghanaian, he's chairman, he was making money. That's not true. You take your paltry, allowances, and then that's it. For the years I've been NIB chairman, I traveled on ticket of NIB twice. For 10 years, remember about Ghana, I never traveled on ticket of Ghana, even once. Not even for 10 years. I went to work. And I took nothing beyond the paltry allowance that Ghana paid. That is what's supposed to be service, for the legal reward that is there, you see. But again, it's become such a pervasive thing, corruption, that when you're in a position, people expect to come out of that position rich. And that is not right. We are making corruption part of our culture. Your children know what position you have. They know what your salary is. But they say you're doing things that are far beyond, so they're learning the wrong standard. They grow up believing that it's normal. So you see, many Ghanaians are not happy to be employees anymore. Some of them would prefer to be unemployed than to go and take an employment that doesn't pay much. All of us are looking for shortcuts to making money. No country develops with those kind of attitudes. The most developed countries are the ones that are orderly, well organized, the one where the law works, and where the law does not discriminate between people, relations and non-relations. No. You see, so we need to do the right thing. PDS for me is a national disgrace, because a project of that profile should be handled, more properly, you know. And I personally never believed the concession anyway, and I try to advise against it because I, as an accountant, as a finance man, and as an economist, and a private business person, I saw too many hurdles along the way. You know, you've got a complex operation, assets spread across the country. You listen to someone or an entity for 20 years. There are a lot of indications, both from the beginning, along the way, and at the end. I would have thought straightforward privatization would have made it easy. Put on the stock market, X% for such investor, providing technology and financial resources, government retaining maybe X%, and public taking 20%, as opposed to, you know, talking about, hey, yes, 51% Ghanaian, and then we don't know where the 51% are coming from. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you know, yes, if we want to do it for Ghanaians, it's like we like it. We like the idea of X% minimum for Ghanaians. But it should be X% minimum for selected Ghanaians. You see what I'm saying?
That's why.
But aside of that, as I said, I believe that the concession is plagued with too many problems. Government could have sold part of ECG and rake in only $500 million. Government could just put this on the market and rake in a lot of money and still retain control for 20 years and forever. Sell 20% of, you know, ECG to Ghanaians on the stock market, 40% some foreign investor. You know, between Ghana government and the people, we sell 60%. That Ghana government, you know, 60% that is sold, but they can have a lot of money. That can help probably solve even the NHS debt, and then other problems. You see, and then I mean, and I believe that the cheaper privatization like this that goes even beyond concession would please Americans, and that would obviate, you know, the need for all of the things we find ourselves in. That would mean that we cannot pack it for a few people. That, obviously, what the problem we have is, you know, it's for me, it's disgraceful to the extent that project of this kind of international, you know, profile, you know, can be destroyed in this way. You know, again, what does it say about a black man being able to manage his own affairs? Within 2-3 months of grant concession, we suspending it. You know, and this is gone through a lot of phases. You know, and I tried to, you know, get the likes of NL in, and NL came and then left because they did not see their way clear. And I'm saying that most of government programs suffer from these same tendencies. Maybe we are just lucky that this time this one has become exposed, and I will see it as positive if we can learn from it, so it does not happen again. That's all I can say. But it's indeed very disgraceful that we'll blow such a program, high-profile financial program, in this way, and it's not a ghost of our country. I personally, as an individual, as a Ghanaian, feel very embarrassed and ashamed, and ashamed.
Your Majesty, very quickly, you mentioned NIB, where you played a very important role over the years. Just today we heard the announcement that certain savings and loans companies have been had their licenses revoked. It appears that the financial sector crisis is not yet seeing its end. What are your thoughts on that?
I would have wished that, you know, Bank of Ghana has real issues, no question, with a lot of the banks. A lot of the savings and loans, and there are real issues, you know, of self-dealing, failure to observe lending limits, or bank lending guidelines and all of that. There were a lot of problems, no question about it, you know. But I think that the approach could have been different, less destructive than we have today, and will be informed by a lot of scientific analysis. I'll give you an example. If I owe Kofi 10 cedis, Kofi also owes Ama 8 cedis. Okay? and another person also owes 6 cedis, the same amount. You see, there's like a 10 cedis debt. You're adding maybe another 8 cedis debt. You're adding another 6 cedis debt. You know, you already have a 24 cedis debt. 24. Eh? But at the end of the day, it's not really a net of 24, it's 10. If that 10 is paid to the person who is owed, you know, is what I'm saying, he also pays the 8, the person who, you know, also pays. So there must be analysis that will try to reconcile the books of all the banks and financial institutions, and therefore establish the amount of overlapping indebtednesses so you can get the net indebtedness. So for instance, a book debt of, in the example that I given, 24 cedis, maybe it's just 10 cedis. Once that 10 cedis is paid, you know, the same can be said of a lot of government indebtedness to the contractors. Government pays the contractors, maybe 1 point whatever billion is owed. They also pay the banks what they owe them. The banks also pay the other banks that they owe. The problem may not be as big as it is today if a lot of patience had been put in. Scientific analysis that helps to establish the nature and the source of those debts. We get a net indebtedness. That is really what the core is, not the summation of all debts. You see what I'm saying? But when you go in the way you have gone in, then you don't allow logical reasoning and approach to come in that helps to solve the problem in a smooth way. So at the end of the day, the person who is owed 10 cedis is in the hole by 10 cedis. It's not getting 10 cedis. The person who he also owes 8 cedis is in the whole 8 cedis. That person, so everybody's, you know, is destroyed when just one payment of 10 cedis would have solved all payment problems. So analysis that, you know, almost like that's a certain amount of offsetting. A certain amount of offsetting. And realize that some of these debts can be collected from the books. You know, this one cancelled this one cancelled this, one cancelled this. Not a lot of money would exchange. Problem is solved. But when you hit the way you have done, you create disaster. That's what we have. You see. And again, it creates a kind of panic that is not good. There is no bank in this world that can survive a rush on it, because no bank keeps all monies that it took from depositors as cash sitting there. Okay, how do banks raise money? We learn it from our O-level economics. Okay, the bank, you know, you put 10 cedis there. Out of the 10 cedis, because they know you don't need all immediately, they take 9 and give somebody as a loan. That person also probably took the money as credit, like he didn't probably take it out. So again, more money can be so from 10 cedis can be created a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? You know, we pick up all of this. You know, so it's important that some of these things are approached in a little more patience, you know, but of course, strict way, so that you don't create more problems than you are trying to solve. You see, so it makes the whole system confused, you know, and so many banks, many savings and loans will cave in when they must not. Again, sometimes just the set off alone cleans up the books. And so what injection of money is needed is so much smaller than was thought about. You see, as I said, no one bank in this world can withstand a rush by investors, because none is keeping money. They vote for the price of creating money from 10 cedis, they lend so much money. You see, the strongest bank in this country, if there's a big rumor that there's a scandal that can destroy the bank, just even rumor. When people rushed on that bank now, they can't meet the obligation. That bank is dead. You see, you know. So the kind of the panic that we saw, resulting from the way the process was handled itself, was not good. You see what I'm saying? You know, it could have been managed a little better, and then the genuine ones who have done genuine lending could survive. You see, just by their debts being set off here and there, because they owe somebody. Somebody also owes them, and some of them are all interrelated. You see, I think that a little more caution would have helped the process.
So it's one of two things. It's either that the Bank of Ghana didn't quite understand the analysis that you've just explained, or they understood it but deliberately did something else. Now, which is it?
Bank of Ghana has a lot of serious people, trust me. They have a lot of serious people, and I'll be surprised if they have not done some of the analysis. But my only worry is that, you know, the rush with which things were done creates a little bit doubt as to whether this kind of thorough across-board analysis was done, as opposed to taking them into our banks. You see what I'm saying? Because that was done, for example, we know that government owes the contractors. So we know that when the government pays contractors X billion, this bank will get maybe 200 million. And so the 50 or the 100 million they also owe can be paid. It's all part of the same analysis. It's not just of the banks, but all the indebtednesses. Developing a big spreadsheet that tries to, you know, reconcile them and to establish the overlaps and what have you would lead us to what the core, what the fundamental indebtedness is, you know. It will require a bit of patience to do that. Not many months, a lot of patience though. I'm not sure what was done, but I am saying that I believe that if something like that was done, okay, the problem would have turned out to be much smaller than it is. There are some that will cave in, not because they did anything bad, but because others did bad things. And in any case, as I said, maybe the set-off could save some of those banks. Just set-off, a lot of, you know, could save a lot of those, you see. And then you get what the net indebtedness is. Like I've demonstrated hypothetically with the 10 cities initial, you know, borrowing, all of that, you see. But Bank of Ghana, no question in my mind, experienced people, they know all these things. They understand these things better than I do. I just try to stretch my imagination, as I always do, to try to understand phenomena, and I try to hypothesize, and, you know, I believe they understand. Whether they do it, I'm not sure about that. Because I believe if it is done, we would have had a less confused situation on our hands, and avoided the kind of crisis that we found ourselves in, you know. And I don't think we've seen another problem yet, you see, but I'm saying that it could have been approached in a more organized manner. You all remember the American debt crisis of 2007. Maybe they also went in that same rush. Even at that time, I was wondering, did they really reconcile all the books, again, to establish the overlaps and do setups to narrow down the difficulties and minimize the I don't know whether they did it, and I'm not sure that we did ourselves, but I believe that something like that done will create a less, you know, rancorous situation.
Well, Your Majesty, the Ghana Grand tour will be leaving your kingdom in the morning and heading to your neighbors, the Akwemu kingdom. Do you have a goodwill message for the tour?
The tour is trying to achieve some noble agendas. And nothing rings better in my ears than something that has a development orientation. As leaders, we are to bring development to the people. So anybody who brings development to the people or tries to do that is trying to do our work. We must wish that person, that company, or group of persons and companies well. I like the objective of the Ghana Grand. I like the health, you know, interest, the tourism and environment interest, and of course I like the idea of inspiring the people, you know, make them feel that, hey, we can stand up to our challenges and overcome them.
Well, we also know that, well, we have a great festival coming up, but Togbe Afede is bereaved, lost the mom, and as a result that we're not going to have for the Yam Festival of the Asogli State the final Deba, or the Deba that will usually climax the festival, but we'll have all the other events as well. We'll be there. Look, promises to be an exciting period. Mama Biosabwaja, I'm inviting you to Ho. You need to come, and it will be an exciting period. You get to stay in some of the plush resorts around there, and you enjoy your time.
Thank you for the invitation.